and the waitress will pick it up from you.
Make sure to leave a tip.
Yeah, make sure to leave a good tip. Okay, well, I think they like the fruit better than talking. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Pawpaw, how many people have heard of a pawpaw?
We used to watch the cartoons when I was a kid about Baloo riding down the
Jungle
river.
Book?
Yeah, in the boat eating pawpaws.
Eating pawpaws. Well, do you know where the name pawpaw came from?
No,
How it originated?
sounds like an
So-
Indian name.
Supposedly, the Spanish explorers, when they went over to the Americas, De Soto, he checked the pawpaw and he had seen papayas. And the people down in like South Africa, Australia, they call their papayas pawpaws. And so instead of calling it papayas, he named it pawpaws. That's kind of the background of it. How many have eaten a pawpaw? How about last year? I had some yeah. Guillermo had some last year. I think Tuan, some other few, I had a few last year. But Southern California is not really the place to grow
Conducive.
pawpaws. I know, I talked to Nan Sternum. Is that her name? Nan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I showed her my trees and had fruit, and she said, well, we did a presentation years ago and no one got any to grow. They gave up. So what interests me was, if anyone knows Art and Dottie Logan, Dottie passed away a few years ago, but they always had unusual things. I was at their place and they showed me their little pawpaw tree. And I started, getting interest in it because of, we're rare fruit growers here. I mean, even though if you're in, the mid-Americas, where pawpaw grows naturally, it goes from like Maryland down to
If you bring the speaker a little bit forward, we may not have quite so much feedback.
positive feedback in here.
Yeah.
I'm probably talking too loud.
Details.
How's that better?
Just hold the mic close so we're good.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds better.
That's better. That's like I'm eating the. Okay. So I lost my place. Anyways, Nan told me, we couldn't grow pawpaws, but Art and Dottie, I mean, they're the king and queen of rare fruits for me. That's how.
Yeah, for years.
For years, and we had pawpaws at their place. And a few years later, I bought a couple of from Cal Tropical. Dave Wilson used to offer pawpaws, grafted pawpaws, and Cal Tropicals had some. I don't think they carry them anymore. So I kept them in 1 gallons for a few years and finally planted them out, and they just grow easy here. So the deal is getting them to fruit and flower, and that's our problem. They supposedly need 400 chill hours, kind of like some of the stone fruit we grow says 800, 600, but where I grow mine, I'm a mile inland, and we probably get 80 chill hours.
Dave Wilson sells them.
Dave Wilson still has them?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So there's some other ones. I've got some websites on here where you can buy them, and we'll get into grafting them and all that. But anyway, so you, Dave? Yeah. So you had pawpaw. Where'd you have yours?
Well, I had them, I went to Ohio
Okay.
last year and went to the Pawpaw Festival
Yeah.
and walked, and so I tasted and also for years I used to, occasionally I would buy, Integration Acres in Ohio sells wild gathered Ohio Valley pawpaws, which are quite good. And so, yeah, I'm real keen on them. Nevin Cleage. I don't know if anybody here knows Nevin.
Uh-huh.
But Nevin had them growing by his house in a somewhat shady area, and they had enormous fruit on them. I mean,
Okay.
I was really very impressed. In fact, he picked several of them, gave them to me, and just said, you know, if you can tell me what these are.
Yeah.
He knew what they were. I mean, it was like a guessing game or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, geez, I don't know, are they avocados? They were
Yeah.
they were so huge, but they weren't very good.
Okay.
Yeah, they might not have ripened properly, you know, because
Yeah.
one thing about them is I think they don't seem to ripen off the tree too well.
Not at all.
I think that's what was wrong with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to be picked
Right.
soft, a little give to them, and they don't change colors.
They stay
When
green.
They stay green. Some of the research they're doing in Kentucky State University is trying to find some that give a little color, so you know you're not having to squeeze each one. You kind of have to wait for the pawpaws to drop, and also they're trying to find some pawpaws that have a thicker skin where you could actually send them across the country. So yeah, once they come off the tree, you look at it and it's bruised, and it'll bruise. Or you put it on the table and but they're still good inside. They can,
Yeah, and like they kind of start getting black even.
yeah,
And some people hate that, but I like it because they taste more like caramel the blacker
There you
they
go.
get. So whatever.
yeah. So they get the black either from the sun, mostly from sun scalding, because they're naturally an understory tree. We'll get to where they're growing and everything. But so anyways, the Indians, Native Americans, indigenous people, I don't know. Okay, so the indigenous people use the pawpaws, of course, for food, and also the tree, the wood is kind of like balsa wood, not that strong, but they would use it for their canoes to go along the rivers, push in. They also use the inside of the wood for string. When the Europeans came here, it was first DeSoto in 1541. DeSoto found them in the Mississippi Valley, and he took seeds back to different areas. Like in Europe, in the Netherlands, they actually have a pawpaw festival each year. It's the largest tree-borne fruit in North America. The largest fruits, of course, are pumpkins or watermelons or whatever, squashes here. So it's the largest fruit. And also in the early 1800s, when Lewis and Clark were traveling across, to the west, they ran into starvation or starving, so they found the pawpaws. Probably the Indians introduced them to them, and they kept them from starving to death. And then some of our forefathers, the early settlers and everything, they were fans of the fruit. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Daniel Boone, and then Mark Twain. I don't know if anyone's heard about Mark Twain says that cherimoya is the greatest fruit. You probably read that.
Yeah.
But he also said he was a fan of the pawpaw. So any questions on the origins or anything? I'm just kind of going a 101 through this. There's a lot more things.
It's a Native American fruit.
Native American fruit, the best.
One of the few Native American fruits.
I wish I had more fruit, and I wish we would have done this in September. I could have brought fruit.
Move back east and you'll get it.
Yeah, yeah. So
Likes the cold.
there's plenty. Planting them, we haven't. There isn't really any big patches in natural patches in California. I suppose you could start one, you know, maybe in the low Sierras or something, near rivers. The natural pawpaws put off root suckers, you know, 2-3 feet away, and it's kind of the same. They're clonal of the mother tree, and that's in the native habitat, Ohio, back to Maryland, parts of the northern panhandle of Florida. They grow them, and then out to right Kansas, and they actually grow them up in southern Ontario. I'm trying to think of the soils. Well, at my place, it's pretty much, it was probably old orange growth areas down in Chula Vista. Avocados grow really well. My soil's pretty sandy. You put water in a hole and it drains in 10 minutes. So you have to use a lot of mulch, and mine haven't been too fussy about the pH. My pH in my soil is like 7. And then I do lower it on some of the potted plants with phosphoric acid. You can add like a tablespoon to 5 gallons of water, and you can lower your pH down to 5, 6. You know, you can do that if you're growing miracle fruit or blueberries, any of the acidic loving plants. So like I said, during the first years of growth, if they have a super long tap root, so you don't want to plant it in the summertime or when it's growing. You want to plant it in the spring or late winter. Here we can plant it anytime. We don't get hard frost or freezes. And you want to water and grow good in there and mulch around it, you know, out about 18 inches. And like all your other fruit trees, you know, keep the grass and everything away from them, you know, so they're not competing for nutrients. And with mine, I mulch pretty heavy since I have that real aerated soil. We don't need to worry about how cold it gets. There's probably, well, we'll get to that on the seeds, kind of how they need it. Let's see. So, see if this will come up. So here's the native region of the pawpaws. I don't know how they got this map. Maybe it's if they did some type of study or, but there's another map that shows how far out you can grow them, pretty much all the way out to California, Northern California, and then there isn't a place in San Diego County, but they have them in Santa Barbara. So they probably have to, you know, update the maps. But as long as you're getting the chill hours and then finding out which variety doesn't mind a lower chill hours, then you're probably fine. My trees, I didn't know anything about the varieties or how much chill hours they needed. I just put them in the ground, and for the first few years, you have to shade them. They get, probably people inland, you know, you get really burnt leaves, even on your cherimoyas. And also if you have a trunk, you like to paint them kind of like your oranges and mangoes. Because they'll split pretty easy. And when you're watering them, they're in and out. So like 2/3 of latex interior. Is it interior paint? I think it's the interior paint. We use on our mangoes and oranges, things like that. The deal with the pawpaws is, you know, we've only really had people here since Europeans since the 1500s. So pawpaws weren't one of these fruits that they wanted to improve on, kind of like the pears and the apples and from Asia, or, the Kazakhs, and that's where you get the good pears and apples. And then in China, it's been 3000 BC. They've been working on cultivars of peaches and citrus. So in America, we really haven't done any agriculture studies until probably everyone got settled down and they were looking to kind of like us. We're probably kind of like pioneers of starting to grow cherimoyas here. Paul Thompson is he probably started this in the 60s, at least here. And then in Florida you had Fairchild and Pompano, those guys improve on varieties. So also the trees, I didn't know this, but they say they only live as long as peaches. Or does anyone have any idea about peaches? Like how long they live?
About 14 years.
14 years? Okay. It depends on the rootstock too, maybe? No?
Yeah,
No, they just kind of start dying off, right?
yeah, the production falls off, so
Okay. So yeah, that's what they said about pawpaws. Yeah, the problem with the pawpaws here, I don't think they're really going to make a big impact because you can't really ship them. You could do them at farmer's market. I'm not sure about San Diego. If you could get, like they say, 20, 30 pounds from each tree. My trees, I think I had 35 fruit last year. That's on 2 trees with 4 varieties grafted on. And one does better than the others. So they're possibly, we need to find out which ones do best here. The one that I got first the Taylor and Sweet Alice. And then I cut off one of those, and I emailed the guys at Kentucky State University, and they sent me signs of one called Sunflower. They said it was self-pollinating. So I grafted that on there. It's been probably 5 or 6 years, and you graft about the same time as cherimoyas. And I grafted it real low on this one, and I didn't even see anything, but in September I looked down and I saw there was 5 fruit hanging off this one scion. And I said, wow, that's nice. Usually, takes 3-4 years, they always tell you, for grafts. But the sunflower seems to be the one you want. They say it's self-pollinating. And there's also one called Shenandoah that's self-pollinating, but they say you still pretty much want another variety next to it, kind of you don't really need to line up the flowers. Like I don't know, everyone here has grown the Mini Royal and Royal Lee, and you're going, dang, the flowers aren't coinciding, and I'm not getting enough fruit. So you'll plant something else, or you just take it out, right, Twan? Yeah, mine. I took mine out also. My cherries. When you can have such more exotic, you can buy awesome cherries at the store. And so we need to grow all these other things. Suriname cherries.
Yeah.
Right, Suriname cherries, acerolas. There's just too much to list. But anyway, so we got the map. So they have, let me see. So pretty much all these states, they kind of got on the bandwagon of having these festivals now. Kentucky State University is the only full-time pawpaw, has the only full-time studies going on. They have a different department for pawpaws. So let's see. So here's something about the characteristics of it. Let me grab this these leaves so you guys can pass them around, and I want to find out what people think. Crush up the leaves and tell me what they smell like. Crunch them up, and so these were just picked. I didn't even use pruners. I just broke them off the lower part of the tree just before. So when I plant the seeds, I always say, well, oh man, is that a cherimoya or is that a pawpaw? They look the same, but does anyone any ideas what it smells like?
Smells a little cherimoya-ish, but not.
Not a cherimoya, no.
Apple?
Like what?
Apple?
Probably some apples, yeah. What else? Papaya, yeah. If you really crush it up, it smells like a bell pepper,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like a green pepper.
a green bell pepper,
Yeah.
or petroleum. Yeah, some other people said petroleum. Yeah. So they're actually doing studies on using this for an insecticide, because you know, in that area where they're native, you get a lot of pests, deer. Well, they won't eat the leaves. They'll eat the fruit when it falls, but they don't like the leaves. You wouldn't want to eat, these leaves. But the deers do destroy trees from when the males are rutting. They're trying to knock the velvet off their antlers, and they'll break branches. So, anyways, it's they kind of grow a lot near creeks where there's a lot of water, and they'll put up these root suckers, and that's how they kind of disperse. For us, we just put them in the use seedlings and put them in the ground. Like I was talking about earlier, the shade, they love the shade when they're young, and in the shade they'll only get up to maybe 20 feet, 15, 20 feet. But if there's sun, they do like the sun after they're accustomed to it. You just naturally the fruit's shaded by the leaves. Where kind of cherimoya, we run into this problem where not all the fruit is covered by leaves, and you'll get that burn on and cracking on your cherimoya. We also talked about, it's the only temperate tree in the Annona family, or the custard apple family. It's very tropical looking if you look at the leaves. So the leaves, I guess you already saw, that's just one on each side, kind of lance-lit leaves, and the flowers are both male and female. Let me see. There's a picture of a tree that's looks like it's been pruned, kind of like an apple tree. That's not one of mine. Mine are more bushy. I hate to prune things because I think, oh, there's going to be a fruit on this one. We always do that, or shoot, I should save these scions for someone to, graft onto theirs later. But the problem I run into is there's not enough wind where I'm at, and you're not getting. The trees could almost get like a hibiscus where you get those white flies, and they don't mention that in back east. But yeah, they almost get not as bad as hibiscus, but if they're growing real close together, you'll get that like the cherimoyas also. If the leaves or fruit are close together, you'll get cotton cushiony scale. What is that one?
I think so, yeah.
And then the ants will harvest it, and your leaves turn black. So if you're in a windy place, it's good and bad. You don't want too much wind where the branches are going to break. They're really brittle, kind of like the balsa wood. Here's a graft I got some scions last year. So it's simple grafting, just like cherimoya, little cleft graft. And you can put I think I have 7 or 8 varieties now on 2 rootstocks. And just seeing which ones flower and fruit. So they're really easy to propagate. Once you get that seedling growing or grafted one in the ground, you can just use it like you propagate like a cherimoya. They do when you graft. It's about the same time I've got on there, April in the springtime. It's when the flowers, or the leaves start to get about the size of a squirrel's ear, if you've ever seen a squirrel, and it's starting to push. So I really haven't had any failures on grafting these. Here's a picture of the flower. This is a female flower. First they come out as kind of green, like a green flower. There's 3 outer petals and then 3 inner petals. And then in a couple days, it'll start to turn a little bit more open. You can kind of see the anthers on there. It's kind of like the cherimoya pollen, where you see the anthers, but that's not what you want. You want the dust. Here you can see the dust more if the light's right. So that one I probably pollinated by hand. You could tell in the direct center of it, you'll see the little green things. That's where your fruit's going to start coming out. And then that's after probably a week, the little fruit. If a lot of them will set like this, but it doesn't mean they've been pollinated. Kind of like you get the fruit drop, especially on mangoes, or it just didn't get enough pollination, or the chill hours weren't enough, something like that.
There's the fruit.
There's some fruit from, I believe, this is either this year or last year. They're not ready yet, but it's really dense in there. There's probably, yeah, I think there's some mangoes in there. I don't know. It's pretty. Here's some fruit just a couple of weeks ago. So these ones you can guarantee you're going to have fruit unless you walk by it and knock them off, and then since we don't have hundreds on the tree, it's kind of sad when you do knock them off.
It's amazing how it grows in that pod almost. I mean,
Yeah. So at this time, maybe we can talk about well, here's some bigger. These ones were from last year. I believe these were Taylor and sweet or sunflower. You need to label them next year. But those, they're pretty delicious, right? Who ate some? Guillermo had some, and yeah, pretty delicious. And my wife eats them all up. But September we should have. I think there's probably 25 fruit this year. Maybe because of we didn't get that chilly this winter. That might have something to do with it. But what's that?
Very little.
Yeah, a little chill. I don't know how people's stone fruit did. Mine didn't do that great. But the chill, I kind of trick it with the phosphorus.
You're within a mile of the ocean, though, almost, aren't you?
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, so I use that like a 1052-8, and it's a bloom booster, and it kind of tricks them into flowering a lot. I don't know how that coincides with chill hours. I don't know if they've done any studies, but that's how I get a lot of my plants to flower. So you want to start when you first get your tree in the ground. You want to use some Miracle Grow or just any nitrogen, and You put a little bit around it and do that up until August. And then start again in the, you can use, Miracle Grow, whatever's cheapest, just something around that.
Mark,
Yeah.
question. So if you have a cluster of fruit like that with 5 or 6 in a circle and they're that size, how do you not get branch break?
Yeah, that's a good question. You want to start pruning them kind of like an apple tree, maybe with a central leader, and then get those right angle branches that are going to be very sturdy. Because I think we all see, if we go out and we pollinate cherimoyas by hand, then you see one at the end of the branch, you go, oh, I want a fruit there. But eventually that fruit's just going to throw the whole thing down. So, yeah, that's a good question. I kind of walk around with like broken egg or eggshells around these. So they're kind of, a rare fruit for us. And yeah.
How long does it take from flower to fruit?
So they'll flower in April, May, where you saw those other flowers. And depending on the variety, they're usually ready in San Diego. For me, in September, mid-September to early October. So 4 months or so. Corey?
So your graft was in April, so do you do it right before flowering or just after?
Yeah, right before flowering. It'll the flowers come out first, kind of like I don't know if anyone's had the Maubin or Ciruela, where it gets the fruit and then it gets the Guillermo knows those Spondius Maubin. It puts out the flower and fruit first, and then it'll grow the leaves. That's kind of like this also. But there's a little time where, kind of like cherimoyas, you can kind of feel that soft bud on there that's pushing, and that's the time to graft it. In fact, the one I've got over here, this came from the Bancroft. Mark Miner had a seedling that wasn't grafted, and I grafted this. Let's see. Yeah, this was grafted in May. I think a little late because it sat there for a few months, and I thought, this thing's not going to make it, and it did start putting out growth. This is a sunflower grafted onto whatever rootstock they got from the dealer. Let's see. So there's so much stuff. You guys should go to YouTube and watch the Kentucky State University talks and presentations. They really get in depth. So the main thing we want is the food. So like we said, they're only good for 2 to 3 days after you kind of pick them. They're soft. They won't turn color. You can keep them on the counter for 2 to 3 days, or put them in the refrigerator to last a week. Or you can cut them up, get the seeds out, and freeze the pulp. You can make ice cream, jelly jams, cheesecake, wine and beer. And flan. But the seeds, they're really bitter. I think any of those, even the skin of this is real bitter. So you have to get those before you process them. You can put them in one of those hand processors or in a bag and squeeze the pulp through that. So what I do on my seeds is I get a bag of peat moss, a 1 gallon, a couple 1 gallons, depends on how much fruit I have, and just get all the fruit off that seed. I hate when I see people eat a fruit and there's all that flesh left on the seed. like our grandkids will eat something and, you know, the flesh is still on there. But yeah, these you want to get all the flesh off and then put them in a wet, damp peat moss, kind of like you're doing an air layer, and put the seeds in there for 90, 100 days, 3 months. They need to be stratified. I even did a little bit of sandpaper on them to see if they would go out earlier.
Gate quicker.
Yeah, germinate earlier. But I don't think, I think those ones that I did really didn't germinate very good. I had a lot of dead ones, so I think I'll just leave them in the fridge and then plant them right away. But you need to plant them in a tall pot, like an 18-inch at least pot. 'Cause you don't want the taproots as long as the plant is. You can't transplant a pawpaw tree. And when you're planting it, you need to plant it when it's dormant. I've tried moving seeds from a kind of a community pot into their own tree pot, and they die. You just, like I say, you look at this thing and they fall off the taproot. I'll have seeds if I count how much fruit I'll have seeds to bring to the meeting or to Bancroft, and you could try them yourself. And then we have all the sign wood you need if you want to start doing some pawpaws. I do have some seedlings. They take depending on fertilizer and soil, you can get them up to a size where you can graft them in a year, but usually like 1 year or 2 years. This was from last year. This is a sunflower variety, and see anything else that's important here? So that's, they kind of come out as kind of almost like avocado. They say some other varieties, I only know a couple varieties, but some, they come out kind of like butter, or I just cut it and you just suck out the fruit out of there and save the seeds. The flavors similar to the ones I've tasted are banana, mango type, but other varieties are whiter, and there's some that are more orange. There's just so many different varieties. You kind of want to go to the festival, like Steve. No.
Dave.
Yeah.
Dave.
Dave.
Okay.
Yeah. And then here's a picture of pawpaws on the right top. And then to the left is a pitoma. I don't know if anyone's had pitomas. It's a Eugenia. Kind of tastes like an apricot. And then there's some, the bottom are some mangoes. And then to the left are some canistels. So the fruit, that's kind of on the small side. The pawpaws there. And the mangoes are kind of small. But you get the idea. There seems to be a lot of seeds in that one. Not sure which variety that one was. And then there's you cut them up, get the seeds out, or just eat it, and spit the seeds onto your plate. They've got a lot of really good minerals, really good for you. They've got potassium, calcium, iron, manganese, zinc, all those good minerals in there. And then I was surprised it's 2% protein. I don't know if you could live on just that much protein, but they said it was 2 to 3 times the other fruit. And you got the amino acids, and the potassium similar to bananas, but a little lower. So they're tasty. It's like eating candy, and it's good for you. Here's some of the websites. I know Stark Brothers, you probably have to order a year in advance to get some of those. And then the Pawpaw
Kansas City.
website at Kentucky State University.
Kentucky.
Red Fern Farms, there's another one, the Kentucky Department of Forestry. Well, there's some other ones. Oh, there's some Facebook groups. There's I think it's called Pawpaw Fanatics on your Facebook. Really good resources, and if I write people, I say, hey, you know, I'm growing this sunflower out here in California, and they always want pictures, you know, with the newspaper, the date and everything. Let's see. The other one is, yeah, we got the Pawpaw Red Fern. There's something also called, Peterson. He's, I forgot the guy's first name, but he's kind of the grandfather of pawpaws. He has his own cultivars that are real good. So it's PetersonPawpaws.com. Oh yeah, another thing they do with the Appalachians is they make whistles out of the wood. Something that kind of like Deliverance or something. With the banjo, and you're sitting up there, your pawpaw flute. There's also a place that's called Fruit and Earthly Delights of Michigan. They'll have things. And then the festivals, they have it in Ohio, Maryland, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Delaware, Iowa, West Virginia. I think in the cooler regions of California, you could do them real good. You could actually do some nice pawpaw patches and sell them at the farmer's market. Anyways, that's about all I've got. Does anyone have any questions? Just go to Guillermo.
So it sounds like sunflower is going to be the one for California?
Yeah, so far, and Taylor also. So I would go ahead and, even though they say sunflower self-pollinating, it's not going to put out as much. You always, like our cherimoyas, some are self-pollinating, but you always want to hand-pollinate to get a big crop. And another question? Yeah.
Are bigger your trees now?
They're about 10 feet. You want to space them about 8 feet. But, you know, land, we don't, some people have a lot more land, but I've only got maybe a quarter acre, and I want to grow everything else, so they're probably 4 feet
They're a little
across.
closer.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
What tree can walking on it?
Pardon me?
What tree can walking on the pawpaws?
What trees have blossoms on them?
No, grass.
Oh, which,
Cherimoya or some other tree?
no, yeah, no, only pawpaw rootstock. Yeah. It's kind of like cherimoya rootstock. You maybe try and graft a pond apple, a soursop, something that is evergreen, where the cherimoya stops growing for a month or so. See, this wouldn't work on cherimoya. Not that anyone, I don't know if anyone's tried, but I don't think they're compatible. So flowers are more similar to soursop. And Rolania, it's not like a Rolania star flower. So maybe that's it. Yes?
Talk about it, but how does the taste of the food compare to zapate, zapote, or other food? What is the texture and the taste of the food?
Okay, so he's asking about the texture, the flavor, the fruit, kind of. So it's like I said, it's got the consistency of an avocado, maybe a little softer. These are just the varieties I know. Maybe some are different, but it's it's got some floral patterns in it. Like they say, oh, it's floral pattern, but you kind of know when you taste it. And then it's got the banana and mango. More for the sunflower that I've eaten the most of is a custard, like a vanilla custard. And then it's got a little bit of twang in there somewhere. So it's kind of describing what sugar tastes like. Yeah.
Yeah, any problem with rats or?
Oh, yeah, I skipped over that. So, yeah, I get what is eating my pawpaws? I think opossums. I get a lot of possums. So, and I just finally noticed squirrels coming on or not squirrels, raccoons. My neighbor has ducks, chickens, some other rabbits. So I'll see on the cameras, a group of 5 raccoons going across my driveway to get over to check out their chickens or ducks. So this is the first year I really noticed raccoons. So you kind of want to get ahead of them and check them every day, see if they're soft. Because the raccoons would climb the trees and the possums and break your branches. We don't have to worry about deers. I don't know about gophers. I don't have gophers, and I don't. Yeah. Yeah, I would think the gophers, if they taste that
Leaf.
leaf, I don't know if they go for it. Yeah. Someone else? John.
Yeah. So I got some cuttings from back east, and it wasn't from seed, it was a stick and had little finger roots off them or something like that. I guess they're the suckers. Do you think that would be a way to grow, or do you think maybe just seed would be a better?
Oh, no, I would put that right in the ground.
Yeah, you think the suckers are worth it?
Oh, yeah.
They seem to be growing right now in a pot.
Yeah, get those, put them in the ground in winter because they're still growing right now. They're too active to really disturb the taproot. Yeah, they'll break off. Anyone else? No? Well, hey, thanks, and hopefully we'll have some. Hopefully we'll have some fruit to share next month. They're still kind of small. Maybe we'll do some type of voodoo spell on them to get them ready. But I think everyone should really grow these. It takes a little work to get them up, but not that much more than cherimoya. You can pollinate them by hand. It'll be fine. Thanks.